this, about this speed. Everything about a sloth is slow, including petting them. The things that they hate are to be scratched like this. They can't stand that. And they don't like to be touched on the belly side. They just like to be snuggled and petted real slow like that. And say, hey Zoe, oh what a good girl she is. And she likes to curl up and hang around your neck like that. And she just likes to be slow and quiet. Yep. So Zoe, here we go. I'm not Zoe. Oh, good girl. There we go. We don't just jump her around from person to person. So we have plenty of time for everybody to get a turn to hold Zoe. But so Zoe, have you guys done a sloth encounter before?
Those two.
These two have? All right, great. And I haven't met you two before, right?
That's my son and his girlfriend,
Yeah, I'm
Bryce
John.
and Bella.
Nice to meet you, Bryce.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you. So
I'm Kevin, by the
Zoe
way.
is a two-toed sloth. Alive in the world today, there are two-toed sloths and three-toed sloths. The differences between them: a two-toed sloth has 2 fingers on the front feet. A three-toed has 3 on the front. They all have 3 on the back. The three-toed sloths have more vertebrae in their cervical spine between their skull and their shoulders, and a three-toed sloth has 3 vertebrae of a tail. Two-toed sloth has fewer in their cervical spine, and they have no tail. But they have the same number of vertebrae from end to end. So that means that the three-toed sloth will turn its head 270 around like an owl. The two-toed sloth does its major turning in its body. So it can turn until its hips are basically 180 out from its shoulders. So the two-toed are like a slinky and the three-toed are like a sloth, and they hate the nails, So just, flat hand, yeah, and when you do like that, she'll get all antsy and want to go on to the next person. So the sloths are slow. Everyone knows sloths are slow. But sloths are slow in ways you don't think about, an animal being slow. So they are slow in their digestion, their metabolism, their metabolic processes. What are your knees? Are you more comfortable on a taller chair? You're good? All right. Slow in their growth, and they are slow in every single way that an animal can be slow. So slow in their digestion. The first studies on how slowly a sloth digests its food, they put some tiny 3mm glass beads into a sloth's food and just waited to see how long it took them to come out the other end. That was 61 to 64 days. So that was the first theory on how slowly a sloth digests its food. No one seriously believes that anymore. It just seems that glass beads don't go through the digestive system the way the food does. So the next study that they did, they put some durable dyes into various food types and waited to see how long it took the colors to come through. And that worked out to be between 18 and 30 days. So leaves are their primary diet. Leaves are almost all cellulose. Cellulose is hard to digest. So the leaves would be more towards the 30 days into that scale, and the fruits and veggies and such would be more towards the 18 days into that scale. So it's based primarily on what they eat, but they eat a tremendous amount of food. So a sloth eats approximately 10% of their body weight every single day. That can be sort of a ho-hum throwaway number until you put it to human perspective. I weigh 180. That's me eating 18 16-ounce porterhouse steaks every single day. Now think about rolling up into Outback and saying, bring me 18 to the big one, right? And stand there and chowing them all through. Say what?
I hope you got a lot of money.
Refinance the house for it, yeah. So, they eat a tremendous amount of food, but they digest it really slowly. And you're welcome to take all the pictures and all the video you want. Kevin is live on TikTok and Facebook. He'll probably make some cut-up versions of this that you can download later. Yeah, that's a good one. And but they tend to go away after about 30 days, so do download them in the next 30 days if you're going to. So they eat a tremendous amount of food. They digest very slowly, and they go to the bathroom rarely. So when a sloth is in the tops of the trees, it is entirely safe from every kind of predator except for eagles. The reason that they are safe from predators in the tops of the trees is the big, huge cats and snakes that would like to eat them are much heavier than they are, and so the sloth can go all the way out to the ends of the branches and the cats can't follow them. So if the cat presses the issue to the point that they walk out far enough that the branch breaks and they both take an 80 to 100-foot drop from the canopy to the rainforest floor, the sloth will survive being like a slinky and the cat will not. And so the sloth will just look over the slinky and go, and back up the tree he'll go. The cat will be laying there dead. So given that they're safe in the tops of the trees, I guess that's part of their design, that they go to the bathroom rarely. The normal cause of death for a sloth is when they come down the tree to go to the bathroom, they get caught by a predator and that's it. So the sloths only come down the tree 3 or 4 times a month to use the bathroom. So when they do come down the tree, they go all the way down the tree, same side of the tree, get their hiney right to the ground, and they go to the bathroom. And you guys are likely to see Sloth Flash go to the bathroom during the next 3 days because he hasn't been recently. And if you look in his enclosure in there, the tree that's on that side of the tree, that's where he's going to go to the bathroom. And if you wanted to see how a sloth goes to the bathroom, you could scroll back in our Facebook for a couple weeks and see Sloth Potty Dance is the title of the thing, and it shows a sloth, it shows Flash going down the tree and going to the bathroom. So they go down the same tree, same side of the tree to go to the bathroom on the same place every single time because of the sloth-moth symbiotic relationship. So sloths need moths and moths need sloths. In the wild, not here, praise the Lord. So the sloths and moths are in a symbiotic relationship, meaning beneficial to both sides, where parasitic would be beneficial to one side, neutral or harmful to the other side of that equation. So the benefit to the moth is that the sloth is the food source and living environment of the moths. So the moth will live its entire life on the sloth. There is a type of sloth called the sloth moth. There's a type of moth called a sloth moth. And it gets to be a little Dr. Seuss with sloth, moth, sloth. But anyway, there is a type of moth called a sloth moth that lives nowhere on earth except in the fur or in the waist of a sloth. So when the sloth comes down the tree, the moths jump off of the sloth, get into the waste pile, lay their eggs. The oldest ones won't come back, the other ones will come back up onto the sloth. And so then it's row your boat. There's always something going on with moths in the waste pile every time the sloth comes down the tree. So the ones that were eggs last time are larvae this time. The ones that were larvae last time are moths this time. So there's always new moths coming up onto the sloth every time that he comes down the tree. So the benefit to the sloth, we said, is that the moth is that the sloth is the food source and living environment of the moths. So what the moths eat is the moss and algae that grow all in the sloth's fur. So if you see pictures of wild sloths, they're nasty looking critters that are green and brown and black with mold and moss and algae growing all in their fur. That's what the moths eat. The only reasons the moth will leave the sloth is to drink water that's pooled up in a leaf up at the top of the canopy, or to get into the waste pile to lay their eggs. Beyond that, they'll live their whole life on the sloth, and the sloth will have somewhere around 150 moths and beetles living in its fur at all times. The benefit to the moth, I can't say my words today, holidays, my first encounter today, my only encounter today. Only because it's Army, otherwise I wouldn't do this, but on New Year's Day. But the benefit to the sloth is that the sloth digests his food by a bacterial process. So we also have helpful gut bacteria, but we primarily digest our food after, the chewing and the mechanical motion in your stomach and the stomach acids, which they all have that the same. But after that, we use enzymes to digest our food to the point of absorbability. A sloth uses bacteria. We also have helpful gut bacteria, and our gut bacteria and if you just are chill with a sloth like that, they will just pretty much veg and sleep and just, normally animals mirror people. With sloths, we find that people mirror sloths. That is, you sit and hold the sloth, you just kind of,
You kind of relax.
yeah, you just got out of the car and you're stressed about making it on time, and you hold a sloth and the world is right,
Yep.
right? So, especially traffic coming through Chattanooga, I don't remember which way you guys come from?
From across.
We come through the country,
Oh, yeah.
all back road.
Crossville, okay. Yeah, my son is at Tennessee Tech up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he loves it so much more than when he went to UT. I shouldn't say that he didn't love UT on a live on this, right? So I won't say that, but he sure loves Tennessee Tech more. All right, Missy, are you ready for a turn to hold Zoe? All right, and this is how we transfer. We say, "Hi, night, Zoe. Hi, night." Good baby. She's like, "I don't know, I like this person."
I think she might like mother.
Zo. She likes soft, not really close. Zo. Good girl. All right, and here we are, Miss Missy. She knows what a Ocoee Riverside hoodie feels like, I'm sure. She likes Bella Canvas. All right, so humans also have helpful gut bacteria. Our gut bacteria will last throughout our lives unless we take a long course of antibiotics. That's what kills gut bacteria in humans. And if we took a long course of antibiotics, we would fix ourselves back up by getting some live culture probiotics or by... Hey, I'm doing an encounter. Donna? Hello? That's why she called me during an encounter. She bugged out of me. So, for us, if our helpful gut bacteria are killed off by antibiotics, we take live culture probiotics or some good Greek yogurt and we're good to go. The sloth in the rainforest doesn't have access to GNC or Publix, so he needs another source for his gut bacteria, and the source for him is the moths. So as the sloth grooms himself, he licks up a certain amount of the moths themselves and a certain amount of the waste of the moths. That is what replenishes his gut bacteria. The sloth doesn't maintain his body temperature. He doesn't have the energy budget to keep himself warm, so the core body temperature of a sloth is whatever the outside air temperature is. What kills a sloth's gut bacteria is cold temperature. If he gets too cold, it will kill not only the bacteria that is through his system, it will kill the moths on the outside of him, and he will starve to death because he won't have any way to replenish his helpful gut bacteria. So if you are keeping a sloth captive, it is critically important that you don't ever let the sloth get cold. Now, if we had a major problem, we do have access to GNC and Publix and whatever. So we could fix the sloth from that because we know what we're doing. Some people, their sloth dies and they are curious what happened. But anyhow, so the benefit to the sloth in that symbiotic relationship is that the moths are the source of the bacteria that help the sloth to digest its food. There are two other hypothetical benefits to the sloth from the moth, but I'm not as sure of the science on that, but I'll tell you what they are. So one is that the only predator that a sloth is subject to in the tops of the trees are eagles, and the moths are fertilizing the moss and algae that are in the sloth's fur, and so more moss and algae is more disguise, more camouflaging the trees from eagles. And then the third one is peptids and leptids. And I wouldn't bother to tell you about this, but we're here for an hour. So the peptids and leptids. There was a study on exactly how many moths live in a sloth's fur. And they used to say it was 600 to 900 moths that lived in a sloth's fur all the time. But they put some plastic bags around some sloths up to their neck and gassed them to kill the moths that were living on them, and just brushed them through and counted how many moths were there, and that worked out to be about 150. But the interesting thing was that two-toed sloths are bigger than three-toed sloths, and they all had as many moths living in their fur. So that means that on the three-toed sloths, the moths and beetles are more densely on their fur than they are on the two-toed sloth. And the three-toed sloths have a higher concentration of peptids and leptids in their blood, which is good for their health. And the source of the peptids and leptids are the moths themselves. When they groom themselves and eat some moths, that's how they get more peptids and leptids in their blood. And the reason why a three-toed sloth has more moths and beetles living in their fur than a two-toed sloth does is their tail. So when they come down the tree, they all get their hiney right all the way down to the ground and go poop straight on the ground. But the three-toed takes it next level and he goes like this and digs a hole in his poop with his little tiny tail. And that puts him all the way in solid contact with the poo. And that lets not only the moths fly up onto the sloth, but it also lets the larva crawl up onto the sloth. And so that is why the three-toed has moths and beetles more densely on them than the two-toed does. And the three-toed have more peptids and more leptids than a two-toed. So that is theoretically another health benefit to the sloth from the moth. But I believe the scientific name of the sloth moth is like Pyridelium, or I don't remember what it is, but there is a breed of moth that is only on sloths. So if you were a subscriber to the evolution theory, there are a number of things about sloths that would be some real head scratchers. So symbiotic relationships, you'd have a pretty tough time explaining how an insect evolved up this chain and a mammal evolved up that chain, and now the two of them have become linked and neither one can go forward without the other one. That would be tough to explain. And if you dug up a skeleton of a sloth that was now extinct, you could come up with some pretty wild theories about what a fearsome creature this is, based on the huge sharp teeth and the massive claws and the long strong arms. You could come up with some pretty out there theories about what a fierce apex predator this guy is. And of course we know that's not true because we can see living sloths. Same way with pandas. They used to, before anybody studied pandas, they thought they were apex predators with the massive teeth. I mean, if you see the jaws and if you see the skull of a panda, it looks like a Kodiak bear or something.
Wow.
I mean, their teeth are just massive. And gotta get some bamboo. But anyhow, so slowing their digestion. They eat a lot of food. We talked about that. They digest it super slowly. We talked about that. But they metabolize it very thoroughly. So if a sloth eats 10% of its body weight every single day and goes to the bathroom only 3 or 4 times a month, if it's 10 days, 10% a day, that means he's eaten 100% of his body weight since he last relieved himself. And that's solid and liquid at the same time. So you might think that they could eliminate 100% of their weight, well, but they don't. They do metabolize the food very thoroughly, but they are going to lose 1/3 of their body weight when they go to the bathroom. So I weighed her a couple of cycles ago, and she was 8.4 at night and 6.1 in the morning.
Wow.
So she literally eliminated 2.3 pounds. No, sorry, got my numbers off there somewhere. I don't know. She eliminated, yeah, it's 6.4. So she eliminated, or no, she was 8.4 and then 6.3. So she eliminated 2.1 pounds, and that is exactly 1/3 of 6.3 is 2.1. So she genuinely does eliminate pretty much exactly 1/3 of her body weight when she goes to the bathroom, meaning that she did metabolize 2/3 of it. So, but again, put that to human perspective. I weigh 180. A little quick math will leave you horrified on visualizing that situation. So, so they really do 1/3 of their body weight when they eliminate. The sloth, their primary food is leaves, and leaves are mainly cellulose, and cellulose is hard to digest and not so nutritious, so that's why they eat so much food. But their multi-chambered stomach and the long process and some fermentation and stuff going on there do make it digest the food very thoroughly and get as much energy out of it as possible. But still that leaves them with a really low energy budget because they just don't get much out of all these leaves. So some examples of their low energy budget, we already said they cannot maintain their body temperature. They technically are a warm-blooded creature, but in the rainforest, the daytime high is in the mid-80s, the nighttime low is in the high 60s, and their core body temperature makes that range of temperatures every single day. If you let a sloth get cold, we already said it will kill it. You'd have to let it get really cold for it to die directly of the cold, but they normally will die a month later of starvation because it kills their bacteria colony and their moths. Some other examples of their low energy budget: a mother sloth can only make milk for its babies for about 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the type of sloth that it is. They just don't have enough energy to make milk for any longer than that. They do stay with their babies for longer than that, but that is as long as they're able to make milk. After they're not still nursing their babies with milk, the reason that they stay together with them is to teach them how to survive in the world. Let's go ahead and let the next participant have a turn. Hey Zoe, good night. Good night. Oh, good girl. Good night, baby. There we go.
Oh.
Oh, good girl. All right, now you don't have a hoodie on, so she may be just a tiny bit pinchy around your neck. So you want to support her underneath so she doesn't hold on to your neck as hard. There you go. All right. So if you give her a little support under her bum right there, she won't grip onto your neck as hard. So some examples of what the mother is trying to teach to the baby sloth is how to survive in the world. You don't have to whisper. It doesn't bother me at all that you interrupt me. Oh, you got days to get to the
Yeah.
And don't worry, Mr. Kevin's got videos going, and we'll make you internet famous. So, or we'll try, right? We'll see. So, the things that it's teaching the babies, they eat the leaves out on the ends of the branches. There's a couple reasons for that. One, the leaves that are further back up the branches tend to be older leaves. The older the leaf is, the harder or more solid the cellulose walls are inside the cell walls of the cellulose are inside of the leaf. So that makes them harder to digest. And if there were to be any toxins or poisons that built up in the leaves, the older the leaf is, the more toxins and poisons could be in them. So the mother sloth is going around and picking leaves, and she holds them in her mouth and lets the baby eat the leaf out of her mouth. And that's how the baby learns which leaves to eat, where to eat them from, and what not to eat. So the two-toed sloth will stay with its baby for maybe 3 or 4 months. The three-toed sloths may stay with their babies for over a year. They used to think that sloths lived in one tree or a very small set of trees for all their life, and the reason they thought that was because they always pooped in the same place. So, and before they understood the symbiotic relationship, there actually was a theory that they were just neat animals. Why they would risk their life to come down the tree to go to the bathroom just because they're neat, there's no logic to that. I'm going to get killed because I care where my poop lands. That's really not an animal trait. And so anyway, the one time that a sloth does stay in one tree or a very small set of trees is while they have a baby. So they are teaching the baby how to live and survive in a very small place. So they're picking an optimal tree for the baby, the right kind of leaves, a big tree where they can get high up off the ground. They're trying to pick the optimal place for the baby to survive after the baby is on its own. And when the mother weans the baby, the mother leaves. The mother just ditches, and the baby is left there in that one tree or small set of trees. And then over the course of their life, their world would expand as they, run out of food in that spot or whatever the case. Their world will expand over time. But when the mother first leaves the baby, she leaves it in that small environment where she's been teaching it how to survive in the world. So they're slow in their movement, they're slow in their digestion, they're slow in their metabolism, they're slower. She really has hit just a massive growth spurt, maybe in the last, 45 days, Kevin, would you
Yeah.
say? She has maybe darn near doubled in the last 45 days. But, she came here right at 4 months old, she weighed 3.5 pounds, right now she weighs 9. And the full adult size for one is about 15. Although I was a little bit shocked to see that one sloth from the same breeder that our sloths come from is 40 pounds. I'm like,
Wow.
I'll need a back brace to carry around a 40-pound sloth, so I'm very much not hopeful that she comes out another world record sloth like that one does. But part of his sloths getting so big, I guess, is that he's got such a genius diet, and he is, he's a doctor of veterinary medicine. He's been doing this for 30 years.
Oh, okay.
And he has a large population of sloths and is breeding them for health and longevity and everything. So he is conservation minded, and even to the extent of planning around eventual extinction of sloths, because like some people think we're horrible people because we have sloths and they should be wild and whatever.
Right,
But had there not been captive rhinos in the world, there would be no rhinos in the world.
right.
Because they did come to the point that there were precisely 0 in the wild, and they got together some rhinos out of zoos and got a guarded situation in a national forest in a national park in Africa. So they're working on there being wild rhinos again. But the population of sloths, while they are not currently considered endangered or watch listed or anything else, it is a precipitous decline in their numbers over the last decade or two. And the biggest factors causing their decline, of course, are loss of environment like every other wild animal. But some other more specifically things to loss of environment is fragmentation of the canopy of the rainforest. So, big holes in the canopy where, sunlight comes in and it just messes up the whole ecosystem in the canopy. And power lines that are actually going through rainforests, not just around them, but through them. The sloths get on the power lines, and of course if they're moving along one power line, it's all good, like a bird landing on it. But they're a whole lot longer than a bird, so when they reach from one line to the other, or one line to the pole, fried sloth. But as humans, the biggest thing we can do for them is reduce, reuse, recycle, waste less. We as Americans are very, very wasteful people, and it does impact our world. And so anyhow, the slow in their metabolic processes, we just said that they grow very slowly. Most people who are researching sloths in the wild would tell you that the average lifespan of a sloth might be about 20, but like so many prey animals in captivity, of course they live much, much longer because they don't die being caught by a predator. So like in the case of kangaroos, I think we did a kangaroo encounter last time you guys were here. We probably talked about in the wild, a male kangaroo lives 5, 6, maybe the very outside 7 years. In captivity, they live 20. So sloths similarly, in the wild, they say they might live about 20 years. Nobody really knows exactly.
Right.
There is some real advances on that they have a number of radio collared sloths now, but still it's going to take decades to figure some of these things out. But what I can tell you is that there are a number of sloths who have lived 50 years in captivity. So they live, perhaps more than twice as long in captivity as they do in the wild. The 2 breeders that I am pretty familiar with each have at least one female sloth that is over 35 and still reproductive. And of course, we can't say this for sure about sloths because there's not enough research to know. But most female mammals don't reproduce in the last half or third of their lifespan. So if they're still reproductive at 35 years old, that would suggest that they could still live quite a while. But again, we can't say that for sure because nobody knows that to be true of sloth. But it's true pretty much every other mammal that has a long lifespan. Not mice and rats and stuff, but things that have longer lifespans. It's true of pretty much every mammal I'm aware of. So some other physical characteristics about sloth outside of just how slow they are. So their claws are pretty interesting. If you see a skeleton of a sloth, the claws are still there. when they have skeletons of them, because the last bone of their finger is actually inside of their claws. So, you know, on us, our fingernail is on the last bone of our phalanges there, but for a sloth, their claw is encasing the last bone of their finger. And you do have to groom a sloth's nails because they will grow so long that it will dig into their fur in some captive situations. We keep our humidity really high in here so the bark on our trees lasts for a really long time. And that's our primary means of keeping our sloth's claws groomed properly, is it's all hardwood trees in there, of course, so they don't get sap on them. And the humidity is right, so the bark lasts a really long time. So ours tend to just wear down naturally. But if you had to groom a sloth's claws, you really, really need to know what you're doing. Because, you know, if you just went like a dog and, you know, with a dog, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to hit it quick and it's going to bleed a little bit. With a sloth, you cut his dang bone off.
Right.
So you really, really have to know what you're doing. But their claws are pretty interesting. So they kind of look a little bit like slip joint pliers that they can close over a very wide variety of diameters of branches. And so if you look at the way that their claw moves, like if this is the leather part of their hand and this is their claw, you know, it goes a really long ways. So a sloth can grasp anything between about the diameter of my thumb and the diameter of about that one-handed. And if it's bigger than that, and if you're looking at the trees in Flash's room there, if you look at the one that's that way, when it goes all the way down and then it makes kind of a sharp turn at the bottom, below that, he lumberjacks, you know, 2 hands at a time. Everything above that kind of turn in that branch right there, he can one-hand it with any of his 4 hands and feet, whatever you want to call them. So because they have such a difference in what diameter they can close over, they can go over a wide variety of branches. And if you look at the leather part of her feet, they feel just like monkey feet. I don't know if you've ever felt what monkey's feet feel like, but they feel exactly like what the sloth's feet are. And that gives them, you know, like the sticky on one side and the pinchy on the other side, so they're really gripped onto stuff. So if you see Flash in his environment while you're here this weekend, sometimes he hangs for crazy long times, hanging by all 4 like this, right? Now he's got all these cool crooks in the branches that he likes to sit in, and he's got his bunk bed hammocks over there that he likes to lay in. So he doesn't hang as much as a wild sloth does. But for us, if we ever took a PE class, we can remember that a minute is a long time to do a 2-arm hang, right? Sloth can hang for days. So, let's talk more about that in a second. Zoe, not night. Everybody's doing such a good job being slow and gentle with this girl today. Just having to wake her up to move from one to the next. She's just enjoying a chill group. Here you go. I'm trying to be pressure, my man's just in the way. So if you support her under the bum a little bit there, she won't grab on near as hard. So so for us to hang for a minute is a long time to do a 2-arm hang. Sloth can hang for days. That is because for us, our exertion state is this. This is exerting energy. To close our hand like this, a relaxed state is that. This is exerting no energy. So if we stood like this, you know, we're exerting no energy.
Can we get some from back here?
A sloth is the exact opposite. So if you see her reach out, her or Flash, they reach out all kind of slow like this, but then they can just snap back like that, because this is their return to rest state. And when their hand, claw, whatever you want to call it, is closed like this is their relaxed state. This is exerting no energy. So when the sloth is hanging on a tree like this, he is exerting 0 energy. To hang there like that, it is so true that he is exerting no energy to hang there, that if the sloth died, it wouldn't necessarily fall. It could continue to hang there dead for days. And and it's all about, you know, relaxed state, stress state. It's exactly the opposite than it is for us. Now, they are crazy strong. They'll tell you that a orangutan is 7 times as strong as a human, something like that. And that's a combination of, you know, they're bigger than us and they're stronger than us. Now, the sloth obviously is not stronger than human. but per gram of muscle tissue, they're very much stronger than a person. So the sloth can do a one-arm pull-up by any of its 4 arms or legs and continue to hang there after it does. I'm sure Army probably could still do a one-arm pull-up. Navy can't. But yeah. So let me show you guys how the blinds work. Right. You just push that button. In theory.
That one broke it.
Looks like I'm climbing.
You broke it.
No, it measures speed.
What in the world?
I figured that out when we're done. We're supposed to push one button here. So, you enjoy some sunshine anyway. What was I even saying? Per gram of muscle tissue, they're a whole lot stronger than people. Obviously, they're not stronger than people overall because they're tiny. But per gram of muscle tissue, they're much stronger than we are. The sloth's guts. So for us as humans, our guts are sitting in our pelvis and they're upper bounded by our diaphragm, but they're just kind of loose in there. I can tell you from when I had a surgery where they took all my guts out and put them all back in. You're a nurse, RPLND. So when they do that, your guts are pretty sloshy for a pretty long time. And sloths, of course, are inside out, upside down, backwards, hanging all kind of weird directions all different times of the day. So they can't just have their guts all sloshing around, right? So a sloth has 46 ribs, 23 sets of ribs. So they have quite a few more ribs than we do. And then beyond that, they have connective tissue that all of their guts are firmly connected in place. That's also part of what helps them to survive drops out of trees from really high up, is when they hit the ground, it shock absorbs all of their guts when they fall. So, but I don't, I'm not God, I don't know the design, but I can tell you that it makes their guts not be all sloshy. I mean,
Right, more stabilized.
if we hung upside down for 8 hours, we would have a situation.
Yeah.
The sloth doesn't, because his guts are all held exactly where they're supposed to be. The sloth's eyes. So the sloth's eyes have a structure called rod monochromacy. So they have all rod cells, no cone cells. So the sloth sees only in grayscale all of the time. Now, grayscale doesn't necessarily mean poor vision. There are grayscale seeing animals that see well, not him. The sloth has horrible vision. All of the time their vision is horrible. Now in the daytime, of course, their pupils are all the way constricted shut, so in the daytime, they're kind of trying to look around like this, but really all they're seeing is shapes and shadows. But even at nighttime, their vision still is straight up awful. So their primary senses that they're working with in the world are sound and smell. So a sloth can have one banana, or a couple slices of an apple, or a piece of a mango, but a whole piece of fruit is too much.
Has Zoe and Flash ever met?
They have seen each other. They showed no real interest in each other at all. I've stood there in the room while Flash is all taking his hands all around my hair, and Zoe's hanging around my neck, and he cares about my hair, he doesn't care about her.
Okay.
And Zoe is right now transitioning down here. Her birthday was December 16th. That was the day she turned 1. Did you see the video of welcome to her new room, right? Yeah. So she has only spent one night down here so far. But she is transitioning. She likes her room, but we're not trying to throw her right from where she's lived for a year straight to another place.
Right.
So she started out down here just doing her encounters inside of her new room, and then spending an hour or two after an encounter. And she spent one night down here the other day. But so anyhow, I say that to say that one day Flash was on his encounter bar in the kitchen, and I opened the door and he whooped right over my head, straight into her room. But he walked right past her and was just checking out the branches and
He
her
didn't
hammock
care,
and all
he
the other
just-
stuff. He didn't care about her. He just wanted to see what's the neighbor's room look like. And so the last few days when we go to do encounters, he's like there waiting for somebody to crack that door open. He's going,
Oh, he likes it.
yeah, light speed, Dr. Sulu. So you gotta be looking the wrong way. He's got in there a couple of times now, and he's all, yeah, I guess it's like, staying at a hotel instead of staying at home. He just
Right.
wants to check it all out, But if we were ever theoretically going to breed any sloths here, which I don't have any particular opinion that we will, but our newest sloth Dash is genetically unrelated to Zoe. So it would be Dash and Zoe, not Flash and Zoe. Because Flash is 6 years old, and I am not as familiar with his genetics as I am with Dash and Zoe. Because the guy in Florida that does it has, exact family trees on all of his sloths for 30 years. And there are many generations captive bred, so he can tell us 100% that Dash and Zoe are, both lineage sloths who are completely unrelated. And so, yeah, if eventually we were going to breed two sloths, it would be Dash and Zoe, not Flash and Zoe.
Okay.
And Dash will be off quarantine here this week. Actually, it's 14 days. We're up yesterday, but it'll just be a matter of when he's ready that he starts seeing guests. But
How
So-
old is
say what?
he? How old is
He was born August 10th or 18th.
Oh, okay.
Early part of August he was born, and he came here December 17th.
Okay.
So the breeder that we use, who's in Florida, who the only reason I don't name him is he has a large facility that he doesn't like anybody to know where it is.
Right.
And he's fully licensed and all that kind of stuff, and he's a doctor of veterinary medicine who's been doing this for 30 years, but he doesn't want people showing up at his door.
He likes his privacy.
And we get millions of views, so he doesn't want me naming him. But he has very many sloths and has been a breeder for very many years, and he's the only person in America who is currently successfully breeding three-toed sloths.
Oh, wow.
But and his population is healthy and growing on those. And so I don't know of any other breeders who have managed to even have one survive. But it's because this guy planted a grove of sarcopia trees 20 years ago. So he has big, huge, mature sarcopia trees. I'm saying the word wrong. Sacropia trees, which is their primary diet. And so anyway, and the other guy that we deal with, who doesn't mind being named, is Jeremiah Teets. He's got a zoo up in Michigan. And he is breeding not only the sloth, but he also, if I was going to get a giant anteater, it probably would come from Jeremiah. But because he is the guy who spent the last 20 years developing an anteater diet that you can keep anteaters as pet animals.
Oh, wow.
And after he had been 17 years developing his diet, he partnered with a major animal food brand and he just gave them his recipe so that they could make anteater food that you can use hot water in a blender and prepare so you can keep a giant anteater
Oh,
without
wow.
having to have a billion ants. And anteaters, sloths, and armadillos are the family Zathorian. Am I saying that right?
Zathorn.
What?
Zathorn.
Zathorn. And the only similarity looking to me from just looking at an animal standpoint is a big, huge claw on the front foot. But yeah, they are a family of animals. Somebody on the live this morning was asking us if they're related to bears. I'm like, no, they're not related to bears. But yeah, excellent smell, excellent hearing. So when the female is in heat, I guess they make a D sharp, high pitched shrill sound that a male sloth can hear from miles away, and they come like bats to a flame. But even so, sloths are always solitary. even when they come together. So his mother animals are all clicker trained, so click, 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 I'm going to take your baby, but it'll be right back. And so it doesn't stress the mothers, and therefore it doesn't stress the babies. So starting from 2 weeks old, he's holding the babies, 30 seconds, then 45 seconds, then a minute, so on and so forth. Until by the time the mother has weaned the baby's being held by 30, 45 minutes at a time, several times a day. So the babies are this people oriented, that they get all the nutritional and social benefit of being a mother raised animal. They nurse them with milk for as long as they would be nursed if they were completely wild. And they stay with their mothers until their mothers are done with them. And so if you are fortunate enough to get a sloth from that guy, his application process is somewhat extreme, but you're going to get a perfect animal like this. And he has just a wonderful system for doing it.
So it doesn't stress them, they're just used to it.
Yeah. And Flash came from the other breeder, Rich, and I don't have anything negative to say about him, but he doesn't raise his babies that way. So that's why Flash to date has never been held. So I have been one-on-one directly with Flash every day. I think I've missed 20 days in the last 3.5 years, and I have never held Flash. So he'll get all the way down, he runs his hands all through my hair, he lay his face against me, he'll lay up against me, but he has never made any move to move onto my body. So if he doesn't want to, it's okay. He doesn't have to. We relate with our animals in a way that they are comfortable to relate. But it is a very different way of raising a sloth. And it is extremely labor intensive. He has to have a whole lot of people on staff. But you come out with some wonderful animals like this. And we get a certain amount of hate from people about having sloths at all, because they belong in the rainforest. It's great. There should be sloths in the rainforest. There should be wild sloths. No, Zoe. Come here, baby. Oh, she likes the long dark hair. John's hair. Come here, baby. No, no. Right here, don't want it.
I was,
You were what? A little slower.
doing with the transition.
Well, she's got Dash, so she's doing pretty good. But she is accustomed to Zoe hanging around her neck for as much as 8 or 10 hours a day. And Zoe's been a little bit more lap sitting than neck hanging for the last couple of months as she's gotten so doggone big. But that's why it's as much Donna as Zoe that is transitioning. So yes, caring of you to ask. But yeah, it's an adjustment to both of them. But Zoe genuinely loves seeing pretty much all people. The only people she doesn't like to see is jumpy kids, which is why there is a minimum age on it. And there are people that have called us and said, hey, I've got the chillest 6-year-old in the world, and I think it'll be fine. And we tell them, yeah, we'll give it a shot. I mean, if it doesn't work out, you're not getting a refund because we book every single spot that we have available. But we're happy to give it a shot. But we have had kids that aren't able to,
Be still.
yeah, to monitor their energy level or their behavior at all. So that's sometimes it's possible for that to be a fail. But other physical characteristics about a sloth. You guys are getting all the info today since we're here for a whole hour. Usually I talk a little faster and say a little less. So, have we ever done a whole hour one before?
It's a great speed.
Yeah, it is, because I don't talk so doggone fast.
It's good speed.
But, no, I don't think we've ever done an hour before, have we?
No, not all together.
No, I don't think so. So, teeth. So a sloth has no enamel on their teeth. They're gonna live 20 years in the rainforest and they don't own a toothbrush. So the no enamel is a good thing because their teeth are like rodents that they grow throughout their life. They do not get any replacement teeth, but their teeth grow continually. So if anybody that's sitting right there with her hears that's her grinding her teeth. So every time they open and close their mouth, their teeth are sharpening against each other like this. They have no enamel, so their teeth wear down a little bit every time that they open and close their mouth. So they always have fresh, strong, sharp teeth. Now, I try not to say a lot bad about other places, and I certainly don't name other places I'm gonna have something negative to say about. But there are places that pull their sloth's teeth before they use them for encounters, and I think that's horrific. But I absolutely cannot stand people who abuse animals for money. But if a sloth bites you, they have a lot of bacteria all the way from their entrance to their exit. And so if a sloth bites you, you're gonna have to take antibiotics. And in the good old lawsuit, happy United States of America, you're likely to get sued if your sloth bites somebody. But my sloths are extremely unlikely to bite. Part of why my sloths are extremely unlikely to bite is we interact with our sloths in a way that they are comfortable with. If you're doing it wrong, I'm not shy to take her away from you. And you know, if it's an issue, I'll refund you. I don't really care. I care about my sloth.
Right.
Human safety is more important to me, but animal comfort is more important. If it's a matter of safety, I'll pick the human every single time. If it's a matter of comfort, you can get over it. But so if you look at certain other places' encounter schedules and you get onto their booking site, you'll see that you can book that sloth every 15 minutes for 10 hours a day. That is not a good way for a chill animal to live. If you look at my booking site, you'll see that they do 2 encounters a day. And we do very small groups of people. This is the only time I've ever done 5 people, but this is Army, so you know, Army gets more privileges than other people do. But now if he was Navy, we might talk, but anyway. So our sloths do very few encounters. They see very few people, and we are not shy to turn somebody away who doesn't seem able to comport themselves accordingly. But so our sloths are not likely to bite people because they enjoy what we're doing. They actively enjoy it. And we interact with each individual animal in a way that they're comfortable with. So like I told you that Flash has never been held. I didn't tell you that it took 2 years to get ready for Flash's encounter that he does. So you can force an animal to eat from your hand, just don't give them any other food any other way, right? But in my personal opinion, that would make that an adversarial relationship. You have the food and I'm gonna get it. I don't think that would be a safe and respectful way to deal with an animal. Even if you could get them accustomed to it, I wouldn't like that. So for Flash to be doing people encounters, he had all of his food free choice all day, every day, all he wanted. And it was just up to him when he would start eating from my hand. So that was me standing there for an hour or 2 or 3 and just holding food out and seeing if he would eventually want to eat it. And so it was a year until Flash consistently on a daily basis wanted to eat out of my hand. It was another several months until he was eaten from other people. But you've seen Flash before and you know that he's a friendly, chill dude. But we are interacting with Flash in a way that he is good with. And the babies, you know, we don't call her a baby anymore. She had her first birthday December 16th. But the babies also, you know, there's no encounters available to book for Dash because we'll be ready to book with Dash when Dash is ready. And for after he sees us for a while, then he'll see some, you know, friends and neighbors that I know that aren't going to be offended if he doesn't want to go to them the first day and haven't paid me something that, you know, then it's, well, hey, I paid for this and
I like that.
that might make me, you know, just as a human and a businessman, it might make me inclined to want to, you know, encourage him a little more to go to a different person. It'll be friends and neighbors that haven't paid me anything and know the deal. And maybe he'll come to you today and maybe he won't. Now so far I'll tell you that he wants to go to everybody all the time, but you know, it has to be consistent and it has to not stress him at all before he'll start doing encounters. And So that is some of the reasons why my sloths are different than other people's sloths. And I think people see that online, and that's why this week we've had people from Alaska, Iowa, Ohio, Michigan, Miami, Florida. We've had people literally from as far as you can come in the States. I mean, the family from Iowa drove 14 hours to get here just to come here. The guy from Akron, Ohio, drove 10 hours through the night to get here and held the sloth and turned around. And I haven't checked the records to be sure, but I think that in 2024 we had people here from 39 states and 17 countries that come here. And of course, you know, the business here, our primary purpose is to glorify our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in everything we do and say. And second, to make a quiet, chill place where you can make memories with your own family, doing things that you can't do other places. And third, I hope eventually I'll make a profit at this. So far, not. Now that Kevin is here on social media, it's picking up pretty quick.
I saw the videos when Donna came from out of town, and how when she just hears her voice, she's ready,
Oh, yeah.
like looking all around for her.
And do you know how much hate I got on that video? Just,
She was so happy to,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
hear her and see her.
oh, she lives in a cage. I'm like, so does your baby. You call it a crib.
Right.
And, well, you can't say that. My baby's crib doesn't have a roof on it. I don't know, if your baby could climb the way mine would, it would. I
Right.
promise.
Right.
And, you know, a baby animal starts in a very small environment that they're comfortable with. And, you know, over time, she turned a year now. She's got her great big room, but she's more interested in being in her little crib still.
Right.
But she's transitioning pretty quick. But there's no rush.
Yeah, she loves Donna. You can tell
Yeah.
that on the video.
Yeah, she does. But she's chill with everybody. As long as the person's not jumping hyper.
Right. Now, has she met the baby yet? The new baby?
They see each other all the time.
They do.
Yesterday, I had Dash hanging around my neck, and you know, we carry her in a basket from place to place because we have to put the towel over it, especially in the winter because we can't let it get cold. And I had just set her into her basket, and I had Dash hanging around my neck, and Zoe's like scurrying. I mean, she was further than I thought that she could reach, and she like reached all the way across and grabbed a hold of my leg and pulled her whole basket and everything over and climbed straight up me, and she's like looking like she's gonna shove Dash out of the way so she can hang on me instead of Dash.
A little jealous.
I said, yeah, we probably can't post that one. It looks like the sloth is angry with the other sloth, but you know, whatever.
Well, she's just used to being heavy and with you guys.
Very much so. Yeah, she doesn't know any other way to live. And people are like, well, is she gonna eventually be released into the rainforest? God, no. No, absolutely not, no. I mean, take your house cat that lived in your living room from a kitten and throw it into the forest.
Right.
It's gonna be short. And, you know, wild caught animals, heavens no. Go get a feral cat out of the woods and bring it into your living room and see how that goes. These are not wild animals. These are multiple generation captive bred animals. And I think even if you could speak sloth to her and said, hey, would you like to go live in the rainforest and be hunted with jaguars every day of your life until you die? Or would you rather chill here? I think she'd pick us.
So I think she'd stay here.
I think. I can't guarantee it, but she's got a pretty chill life. And people also say there are a significant number of websites out there that their goal is to the moss and the algae and the beetles and the moths have a little biosphere going in the sloth's fur, and the sloth relies on that biosphere to keep itself alive. So in the wild, yes, I completely agree, it's harmful to pet a sloth. Keeping sloths captive is bad. To a degree, I agree with that. Especially in Costa Rica where people are struggling to survive, they might go and grab a sloth out of the rainforest and set up a little roadside stand and try to get tourists to pet it. I completely agree that that is a bad thing. But all of that is talking about wild sloths. This is a completely different thing. This is a captive bred for many generations sloth who wouldn't have a single clue how to live in the rainforest, and she loves her life. So I understand why the people say these things on different websites. I understand why a certain amount of people jump onto my lives and spew a certain amount of hate. They're regurgitating what they've taken in. I don't understand why the keyboard warriors think that they know more about my sloth that I have spent thousands of hours with than I do. I can't get my head around that. I do understand that a certain amount of people look at my video for 45 seconds and say this guy's in it for the money because they don't stay on long enough to see what we actually do. So, you know, from a 45-second bird's eye snapshot view when you've read all these other websites, I do understand why they say the things that they say. So we don't necessarily shut people up on our feeds just because they have a different opinion than we have. The time that we'll block them, hide them, delete them, whatever, is when they're hateful to other people in the community. You know, if somebody else, you know, is asking a question and they want to just jump on and spew hate, you know, we'll shut those ones up. But we won't shut them up just because they have a different opinion than we have. They're welcome to their opinion. As long as they can state it in a non-hateful manner. I'm okay with that. You can disagree with me all you like. It's part of the greatness of America.
If they spent any time actually watching you guys' videos and researching and seeing the stuff, they would see that you're different. That's why we originally
Well,
came here.
yeah, but you know.
But you're right, they watch 45
they're,
seconds.
You know, you know, there's a lot more I would say about that, but I'm not here to talk about other people so much. Here to love on some animals. Yeah, yeah. Me too.
Somebody from Germany says hello.
Oh, is that, I forgot his name. Is that ask if it's the guy that rides the jumper horses.
Schlager Moss Team to Chales is who it is.
Is it the guy that stayed in the barn?
Hey Schlager, if you're the one who stayed in the barn, John says hello.
Ask him if it is.
Might be a delay.
These people from, I think they were the ones from Germany. They flew over here. They started out in Florida, and he got a tourist wedding license, and so he proposed to his girlfriend on a boat out in the middle of the ocean with a drone that was like making a circle around him.
Wow.
Like they're the only two on the boat, but he's got his drone circling all around while he does his wedding proposal out there on a boat in, you know, the crystal blue sea.
Neat.
And that was really neat. And then they got married literally the next day in Florida. And then they came up here and stayed in the barn. And they ride Dutch warm blood, I think it was, jumping horses over there in Germany. And he's got like a couple of real powerhouse horses that are just fly over the moon, it seems like.
Oh, wow.
Neat people though. I was really impressed with his video. You remember that video he made of the wedding proposal out on the ocean?
Yeah.
That was pretty sweet. Put some planning into that.
That would be.
He's some kind of tech guy though, so he's got a leg up on Not on Kevin, but surely on me.
Ireland and UK just said hello too. They didn't want to be left out.
Oh, okay. Tell them cheers. Ireland needs bottoms up, right? Oh, there's a kid I'm supposed to be giving a shout out to. What is that kid's name? Kid that's. I can't say. This kid. You can't see me on camera.
No.
I don't remember the kid's name. Hey Malachi, if you're watching, hello. Malachi, I believe this he watches most of the time. Those are some great Christmas nails you got on. Are those painted or put on?
They're painted.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you paint them?
I paid for it.
Thought maybe that. Well, paid for them. That's equally as impressive.
Yeah.
Pretty high end.
Thank you.
Is that? Did you get that done in Crossville?
I know in Nashville. actually.
Nashville. Outstanding.
Yeah.
They look pretty nice.
My girlfriend paid to have that done on my daughter's nails, and she chewed them off in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
I was like,
Good. Now, are the two hands the same if you match your fingers up?
Yep.
Oh, wow, that's pretty impressive. Good job, young man.
They're my Christmas.
Yeah?
One of them.
Gotta show those to the camera. They're super.
oh, we saw them while she was holding it. They're
Okay.
zoomed in, yeah.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Thank you.
So guys, I think I told you most of what I know about a sloth, but anybody have any questions I didn't cover today? Say what? Not a chance. We are sort of hypothetically discussing having a sloth keeper experience. That somebody would, like we had a farmhand for the day. They spend like 4 hours doing what we do.
Oh, that would be neat.
We're considering doing a sloth keeper for a day experience that would last for, the whole day or half the day. And primarily it would be sit and hold the sloths. Because now that there's 2 babies, we need more, it would benefit me that there'd be more people to hold a sloth. But the downside to it is I have to have an employee that sits and watches people hold the sloth for the entire time. Because you just can't let somebody willy-nilly. And if you left him for 3 hours, you might find out the sloth was 100 miles from here by the time you went back to check. Well, guys, Happy New Year. Glad you guys came back to see us. We're about to wrap up and head out. Both have family things today. Oh, I hope you don't have frozen
She
stuff.
wanted me to ask you, because we're picking up the micro squirrels while we're here.
Yeah.
Tomorrow when we do our farm tour, can she see them?
Absolutely. Well, you were watching me live this morning, weren't you?
Were you watching this?
Not, he didn't see the part where we had
Oh.
those.
I was walking around with her microscopes
Yeah.
Oh, were
for
you?
more than an hour this morning. I had one on a leash that was sitting on my shoulder for
Yeah.
half an hour
Yeah.
before it went into my hood and then stayed in my hood for the rest of the time.
Right.
I was feeding animals and I had the other one in the pouch. And I switch them off. One's on my shoulder, one's in the pouch, while I walk around out here, trying to make sure that her 2 little microsquirrels are ready to go. But yeah, still a little bit of a challenge getting a leash onto them. But neither one of them have ever bit me. They just squirm a whole lot while I try to put the leash on. And I will show you how to get the leash right. So the biggest thing is you wanna leave a long tail, I'll show it to you,
Okay.
it's hard to explain, but easy to show. You leave the end of the leash, you know, a lot of people let it be that the knot is all the way down where the little buckle thing is. You just leave it like dangling around, then when you do the little thing to loosen it up, it doesn't matter if you pull the string, it doesn't matter which side you're pulling,
Okay,
because it could go either direction.
okay,
But, they're a little squirmy when you try to get the leash on,
okay.
but, barring that, you know,